Welcome, welcome, welcome back to Truth Quest. My name is Aaron Moriarity. I will be your host, and we're going on a quest for truth together. Here we are, folks. Merry Christmas, everybody, to you. And let's see who's all here. There was a full house when I came in, so let's see who we have here exactly. Whoa, we got Mud Rabbit. Awesome. Merry Christmas, Mud Rabbit. Good to see you here. And then we also have another one of our mods, Catherine Weiss. Merry Christmas, Catherine. And we also have our other good friend and wonderful mod, Peggy Dancer. And we're all praying for you constantly. So you should be getting better any second now. Let's see. And everybody's saying hi to everybody. And everybody's wonderful. Yes, I hope it is too. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Pull that rabbit out of my hat. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't that be? Thank you, Mud Rabbit. And thank you, Catherine. Oh, you know what? Oh, I just noticed. Well, let's see if we have any Christmassy type music. Like... I'll have a blue Christmas without you. I'll be so blue just thinking about you. Oh, yeah. You know it. So let's get a little night driving going here. That'll be better than that. Alrighty then. I always like that Blue Christmas. It's a fun song to sing. Yep. I had favorite songs to sing at those gigs. Had a lot of fun. If you ever want to be anybody, be Elvis, because that's pretty much fun. Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, Peggy Dancer. And hello, Cheryl. Welcome to the program, and Merry Christmas to you, too. And everybody's saying hi to our good friend, Cheryl. And Peggy Dancer. Yes, Merry Christmas. You know, Christmas is a great time. It's like the best time. Oh, look, that's my son. Hello, Aaron, or like we used to call him, AJ. How you doing, buddy? Is everyone feeling better over there now? And let me know when a good time is to make a stop over there, buddy, because I might be going over to Alicia's on Christmas Day, but as far as tomorrow, everything's kind of open. Yeah, everyone's saying hi to my son. You know, he does great woodwork. If you ever need any specialty woodworking, he makes these amazing cutting boards. You know? Getting better every day. That's good to hear. Awesome. That's fantastic. That is swell. Hello to the wonderful mods. Yes, we got the best mods in the biz. And I got a good kid too, right there. And who knows, maybe my daughter is listening too. I got something from my mother for Christmas, and I just talked to her today, and boy, I just sure missed my mom, you know? And so she sent this book. It's kind of got the family history on her side, on the Cruz side. That's the her mother's name. Cruz. And it turns out there is a famous Cruz And let me see. Oh, 1809, Peter Cruise, County Roscommon, Ireland. And Esther Hanley, Dublin, Ireland. You know, Dublin, they have the highest population of any other capital. Ireland has, their capital has the highest population of any other country because it's always Dublin. Always Dublin. So it's got a lot of history in here. And I guess, is his name Tom? I'm trying to find it here. Thomas Cruise. He went out west and he struck it rich in a silver mine, which later became a gold mine. He ended up building a big church for the city, pretty much built the whole town. I think it was in Montana. But it was a pretty big deal. Yeah, it goes on and on here. Let me see. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll have to Charles Lewis Clark, Cruise. History of the Cruise family. So it's really, really quite interesting. And so I have relatives from Ireland on both sides. So isn't that interesting? But yeah, this, I guess there's a short little movie that they made for TV movie. Oh, and here is the church that this relative of mine had built. It's like one of the biggest, most magnificent. That's my Uncle Lynn and my Aunt Daisy. But look how big and glorious it was. This is back in 1800s. So it was still one of the most impressive buildings in town here. So a lot of history here and very cool. So that's kind of neat. That is kind of neat. Yeah, kind of neat. Okay. All right. So now, does anyone want to call and talk about Christmas traditions? Maybe something that you did as a family and or that you still do. So I'm going to put the call in because we might as well, if anyone wants to call in and talk about Christmas stuff, I think that would be good. That would be good. Oh, and another thing, friends, I got to show you this. Oh, look. I got my tree up. Look at that. Can you see it? There it is. Now, on top there is an ornament that I got from Shannon. And that's a shirt that was one of my dad's. And it's an ornament. So something to remember my father with. So that's nice. That's really nice. That is nice. And I miss my dad too. And this is what it is. So yeah, and you know what? Thinking about getting older, and as you know, I've talked about before, I'm 60. So next year, real soon, in the new year, in March, I'll be 61. But I like to say 16 because it sounds like 16. But you know what? 61, for anyone who's dyslexic, I'm 16 again. I just keep being 16. It's just one of these things. I like it. I like it. Your tree hangs upside down. Oh, that's because you got cats, right? I think that's a big thing for cat owners, isn't it? Is the upside down tree. Plus, it frees up space, but then how do you get the packages to stick to the ceiling? Super glue. Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, my daughter lobbied heavily for a cat. And in fact, let me show you something. This is funny. Oh, the things you save. This is just on the side of the fridge here. It's one of these note things for the fridge. Isn't this cute? And she was trying to, convince me to get a kitten. And I was like, no. Once upon a time, there was a little Carmel. She was a dog. Then she turned into a dog. See, I switched the kitten to a dog. She's trying to make the case that, hey, we got Carmel. Why not another kitten? Because they had a cat at their mother's house. See? But I'm allergic to cats, so it wasn't going to work. But it was a funny exchange back and forth. And then she says, once upon a time, I will not let a cat in here, I wrote, the end. But then Dad changed his mind and took no pills to help fight allergies because I was so funny. So funny. Anyway, I haven't erased it. I've kind of kept it there. Oh, and here's one of Alicia's friends. She even wrote on it, hi, Mackenzie was here. Kenzie. Hi, my name is Kenzie. I think her real name was Mackenzie. So there, put that back on the fridge. Oh, yeah. The things we save. So if you want to call in, maybe you have a tradition, like what kind of meals do you eat for Christmas? Have you ever gotten an embarrassing gift? Have you ever, I did do that gag gift thing once at one of the places where I worked, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I think I brought a really funny gift, and I think I got like my gift was like, I think it was like a bottle of Summer's Eve or something like that. It's like whatever. But yeah, we used to always have like a real tree when we were kids. The pine needles and everything. And the pine needles aren't there just for Christmas. No. They kind of hang around. They get worked in, so all of a sudden, you get stabbed in the toe sometimes. And then there was the one time, I think I told the story before, but I wanted to see Santa Claus when I was a little kid. So I thought, oh, I'll sneak and I'll sleep I'll hide underneath the couch. Then I'll see Santa's feet and his buckles on his feet and everything. I'll know it's him. And so I'm under there, and there was no room under there. It was a pretty low profile. I don't know how I got under there, but I was under there, and I was waiting and looking, and next thing I know, it's morning, and I bunk my head and on the wood under there. And I went, oh, it's Christmas. Oh no, I didn't see Santa. I thought, wait a minute. Whew, thank goodness I was sleeping. If I would have been awake, he wouldn't have left me anything. This is what I was rationalizing in my mind. I never told anybody that I did that. I don't think my mom and dad, I don't think they ever knew. I don't think I ever told them. So, yeah. I don't think I ever told them. But yeah, that's how I rationalized it. Like, well, good thing I didn't see him, because otherwise I wouldn't have gotten anything. Do you hear Nancy Pelosi said happy Schwanza? Schwanza, okay? I think she meant Kwanzaa, but when you're virtue signaling, you can make mistakes like that, right? Oh, interesting. Well, that's interesting. Why don't we? Hey, look at that's Dark Brain. Hello, Dark Brain. Merry Christmas. And Andre Little, Merry Christmas to you too, buddy. All right. Everybody's saying Christmas night. I missed all that. Sorry about that. Well, let's take a little trip, shall we? Shall we now? Over to Twitter land. Let's see what's happening over there, shall we? Oh, look at that. Experts puzzled by why Haiti has one of the lowest, death rates in the world, despite administering 0 doses. We don't know. What a puzzling mystery. My goodness, so puzzling. Did you hear that BCP got kicked off of YouTube? Look, I got 67 followers now. Doing pretty good. Tucker Carlson. I'm just going to go over, look at this. Here's what Elon Musk said the other day. What utter insanity that tens of billions are being spent for border security of other countries, but none for ours, right? Oh, this is good. Have you heard this? This is like a rap song. It's pretty good. It's pretty darn good. But I don't know if I could play it. It's pretty good though. You might want to go check it out. Yeah, he's definitely the creepiest resident we've ever had. Creepiest. And just a depraved family. Depraved. And criminal. Look at this. Here's a Rogan O'Handley he's doing a little 21 hours left on this poll. When it comes to Ukraine conflict, are you currently neutral, anti-Ukraine, pro-Ukraine? Look at this. 16,911 votes. 30% say neutral, 30.5%, 60.4% anti-Ukraine. Pro-Ukraine only 9.1%, so the lowest is pro-Ukraine. Boy, you wouldn't know that looking at Congress. It's the grift has become so evident. It's just, yeah, here's something too. Scoop, National Guard informs troops last paycheck before Christmas. We'll be late as Biden administration sends billions to Ukraine. 10% for the big guy. Yeah, they've had it all. And you can read it there. I don't want to get. Oh, and check this out. This is from 120 years ago. It makes bird sounds. Look at that technology. Isn't that incredible? 120-year-old technology there. Incredible. The things that we have developed as a people over the last couple hundred years is incredible. And this stuff way back is more incredible, if you ask me, than this stuff we got now. Oh, really? You should get your cat one of those. That'd probably drive him crazy, wouldn't it? Yes, Congress is in love with money. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Really quite cool. Oh, check this out. Did you see this avalanche? Look at this. So this is over there in, let's see, Tian Shan Mountains in Kazakhstan. Look at this avalanche. Look at that. Came out of nowhere. Look at that. You think he's far enough away? Think he's going to be safe? Think again. He should have been running at this point. He really should have been running. But he thought wrong. He thought like Caesar. He thought his booty was an ice cream freezer. Boom. Yeah, that's pretty wild, huh? Biden laundered billions through Ukraine, so they're reinvestigating Trump again. Yeah, it seems to be a pattern. Seems to be a pattern. Here's something from Joe M. Of course, you know Joe M. Great guy. It is excruciating being awake. We watch evil people occupy our highest offices and commit their crimes, rob our public funds, and illegally steal our government, all in broad daylight. Yet the very citizens who are set to lose the most are literally cheering them on and silencing those of us who are trying to warn them. They celebrate that I have been banned on Twitter, and yet by allowing these criminals to flourish in their ignorance, they are sealing their own doom. Wake up, America. Hashtag wake up, America. That's right. From now on, we'll call it money laundering, will be called foreign aid. Yeah. I think that's Maricopa County changed the size of the ballots on November 8th to sabotage Election Day operations. Of course they did. They'll never admit that. Oh, this is good. You got to hear this. Fair use.
So, Mr. Gates, do you agree with that? I would say that it is appropriate to maintain files, and that's exactly what we did. We deleted the deleted files had been discussed; they were archived.
So you admit that you guys did delete, Maricopa County did delete files off the server after the election?
That are archived.
I find it frankly laughable to suggest that a county, in response to a subpoena, could say we will delete files from the hard drives and materials that we give to the auditors because we have those files archived.
Yeah, again, I don't have an answer to that question, but we'll certainly get you an answer for it.
And I do think that it's important that our recorder has suggested that he will be answering every question.
The same guy, Steve, is that the same Stephen Richard?
Does anybody know when those ballots leave, how many are in the bins?
No, they are not counted at the voting centers.
So nobody knows how many are in the bins when they arrive at MCJ.
Correct.
Is there any way for a 19-inch ballot image to be projected on a 20-inch ballot by accident?
No, sir,
Why not?
because the settings and the configurations and the procedures that are used cannot allow that.
I would say there's no question in my mind that had there not been tabulator issues at 132 vote centers, this election would have ended up with Kerry Lake winning.
Kerry Lake would have won this race, but for the election day chaos.
I have no doubt.
What did you do to verify the accuracy of Maricopa County's data?
I relied on the data that was reported by the county.
So you did nothing to verify the accuracy of that data, correct?
That's correct.
When we started doing the audit reconciliation of those door 3 ballots, we identified some of those ballots had been a fit to paper issue.
And when was that?
I don't remember the exact dates, but a few days after election day.
Scott, did you know the question yesterday? Were you coached by legal counsel to tell the truth today?
Scott, how do you boldly lie like that? Scott Jarrett, what's going on?
We believe in choosing our own election, our own rulers, our own governors, our own mayors, our own presidents. And we do that through elections.
Their attorney said it in his closing statement. He said, "We choose our rulers." Isn't that telling? This was a selection, not an election. And we in America choose who represents us. And we will restore honest elections. And I will never stop fighting. I will never stop fighting. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah. We need to clone her. You know that? We need like a bunch of her. Like one for every state. Right? Wouldn't that be great? You saw that clip? Yeah, I know. I know. It's not that new, but boy, I sure am enjoying everything that's coming out. Boy, the FBI and all these deep state people, they're really looking stupid. I mean, they never thought it would ever get to this point. Oh, awesome. That's great. Yeah. I've been hanging out on Twitter more because I'm off of Facebook now. So if you're looking for me on Facebook, I'm not there. Oh, the one Trump posted? Okay. Rich Barris crushed it at the trial. Yes. Yeah, he's a very credible guy. I mean, he is all about statistics. That's his whole life. I mean, he's really a dedicated guy to that. I mean, I'm glad they had him there. He almost didn't do it. So thank goodness that he did. And he never worked for Kerry Lake. And everyone that Hobbs brought in were people that worked for Hobbs. So, you know, Barris never worked for Kerry Lake. So you can't say that. Yeah, he is. He's been on Red Pill. He's been on, quite frankly. So that's so cool. You know, I wish they had a like a Christmas song on here. I'm not sure about this song. I'm not digging this song. What do you think? It's called Into Space. I wish it was better. This is Feeding the Ducks. I don't think so. Daydreaming? That's not too bad. But I kind of like this one. Night driving. Hey, look, our good friend Austin Morris is coming in to speak with us.
Oh, Aaron, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How you doing?
Oh, I'm okay. It's been pretty cold here. It's gotten very
Oh yeah,
very wintry here where I am in East Tennessee.
Here too, yeah.
Pretty. Of course, according to Al Gore, we're all going to burn up from the global warming.
Oh yeah. I don't believe a word he has ever said. He's very.
Global warming must be frying you up in Wisconsin.
Oh yeah. Well, I was shoveling my driveway this morning because I wanted to get my shopping done early, so I started today. So I went out there and shoveled because there was big drifting. Had about 3-foot drifts in some spots, and I shoveled it all out, and then I come in the house. I'm warming up, and I'm drinking coffee. I look out, and now my neighbor comes and he's plowing. And oh man! And my fingers are all frostbitten. I need to get some. You know what is good is mittens, and I'm not talking about the knitted kind. I'm talking about good, like a glove material mittens, like leather or because when your fingers are together, they can warm each other up. When your fingers are separated in a glove, each finger can get cold, and there's not that, the joint body heat that you get when they're all together. So that's a tip for everybody in the cold weather. Carry some good mittens too, gloves and mittens. So do you have any Christmas traditions that you did when you were a kid, or?
Not really. Our family would get together and exchange the gifts, and we'd have it was like a second Thanksgiving. There we'd usually have a turkey dinner, turkey for big feast midday.
Yeah, so did we.
I think we would do it in those days, and it's not done that way now. It's not anybody left. not that much remaining. So it's all just memories.
Memories are important because that's what it's all about, right? Yeah.
Of course, Christmas always brings to mind the original Awesome Possum was Pogo.
Oh yeah.
Walt Kelly's Pogo.
What was that song? It was.
It was a silly Christmas parody. It would do. It was. Let's see, deck us all with Boston Charlie, Walla Walla Wash and Kalamazoo.
That's right, yeah.
Nora's freezing on the trolley, Swaller Dollar Cauliflower Garoo. Don't we know Archaic Barrel, Lullaby Lily Boy Louisville Lou, Trolley Molly don't love Harold, Woola Boola Pensacola Hula Baloo.
And that was a huge success. That was huge. Remember? That was big. And I thought it was great. It was just funny and fun. And Walt Kelly was such a good artist. I mean, he drew those so well,
He'd worked at Disney Studios a while, so the little human-looking animals or animal-looking humans were Disney-esque.
Yeah.
He'd left Disney because there was some kind of labor dispute there.
Wow.
He was one of the people trying to organize a union or something like that. Something happened.
Oh wow.
And he must have spent some time in the Bayou Country at some point in his life. I don't think he lived there when he died, but at the time of his death. But his characters were kind of like. I always think of Pogo when they do this. There's this documentary series about the swamp people on the A&E channel, and That always makes me think of Pogo.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, he was, I don't know, probably better than Disney art-wise. You know, of course, Walt Disney really didn't draw. It was Oob Iwerks. So he had that.
Yeah, his sense of humor was sort of a low-key, whimsical kind of touch. It was different from everybody else's.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't ha ha, laugh out loud kind of humor, but it was fun. It was just very gentle fun and a bit of satire, and a little bit of political content, just a wee bit. that got him in trouble.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad. Yeah. I guess that one. I'm looking for something in here. I was trying to find something, but I couldn't find it. Maybe I'll find it. But here it is. This is the Awesome Possum. Yeah, so that's the book I'm working on right now. That'd be the cover for it. So that's that. And his snout does look, it's funny because the old Awesome Possum had a longer nose, which was more like a Mickey Mouse nose, because possums do have a long, skinny nose. But I changed it because I just didn't like the look of it. It didn't look cute. So I just shortened it up. And I wasn't thinking I wasn't even remembering that Pogo was a possum. I had completely forgotten about that. It's been so long since I'd seen him. What I was really thinking of was the short little cute snouts of like the Care Bears, the original Care Bears. I loved how they were drawn. Very, very short, cute snout. And so that's what I was thinking when I was drawing that, redrawing it.
Yeah, the characters in the Walt Kelly thing, they were just unique. There was nothing else like them before or since. Nothing else quite matched that.
Yeah, I will agree with you there.
Having some unique characters that seem to have their own voices, their own individual points of view. Characters who kind of came alive, even though they're cartoon animals.
Yeah. Let's get some images up here so people can see what we're talking
Really
about.
kind of missed that.
Yeah, this is good.
There's really not anything like that in modern day cartooning.
No, there isn't. I will agree with you there. Yeah, and for a daily strip that he was doing, it was incredible art. I think he did all of his own art too. That's what Charles Schultz did. He did all of his own art.
That's a significant difference as well, because I know that Al Cap, the creator of Little Abner, essentially had his own little company going. He farmed out most of the work to other artists. And
yeah. So here is the two main characters, three characters, I guess. You got Pogo, which was the possum, which I didn't really even realize he was a possum until I remembered recently. And then this alligator or crocodile. What was his name? Do you remember his name?
Albert Alligator. He'd smoke a cigar, and he was real gruff and unfriendly-ish character. Sort of capturing some aspects of actual crocodiles, but he was a lot of fun also. Then there was the turtle guy, was sort of Francophile type of I guess intended to really be a Cajun, but he's Cherchy La Femme was the turtle. Let's see, there was Ms. Beaver, and then there was this other. She was essentially a very sexy French lady, but it was the skunk. I can't remember her name.
Oh, here's a bunch of them right here. Let's see. can't really read it.
It was a very large cast of characters, though. There were all kinds of.
There's the turtle.
Yeah, the little turtle guy named Churchy. I forgot the hound dog's name. It was long ago.
They're so well drawn. You know, I really love that. And you can see here in his sketch, this is something that I've used a lot too, is the blue pencil. You see where all of his guidelines are here. And if you look at the drawing itself, you can see under the ink is a blue sketch. And the reason that we did that was because back then, when you could do the sketch in non-photographic blue colored pencil and then do the ink right over it and then photograph it, and the non-photographic blue would not show up on the photo. So you wouldn't have to retrace it. So it saved a step. So you didn't have to draw it twice. And so, yeah, that's pretty a cool little trick that maybe not everybody knows. I'm not sure if a scanner can see non-photographic blue or if that's just camera. I'm not sure. But yeah, look at, I mean, even all of everything, even his, and the fact that his first name was Walt too. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, here they are in color. It was an enjoyable cartoon strip. It was really fun, always something to think about, and so well drawn. That was the thing, you know, very well drawn. I think that's why Garfield sold his, he sold Garfield on just one strip, maybe two on a board. And that's unheard of. You usually have to have like 100 of them backlogged before they'll even talk to you. But they were so impressed by that. Pogo. Yeah, look at that. It's good stuff. The way that he uses black in the background on some frames, you know, that's nice. Yeah. He was a very good black and white artist. Really, really conveyed a lot. And great artist, yeah. And I hope my possum doesn't look too much like him. I don't want to copy
No,
anything.
there's no visual similarity there. It's not. So
Yeah.
obviously, you have your own style, and it's unique to you.
Yeah, but boy, I sure did enjoy and it was sad when it went away, you know. Oh look, Pena Perspective from down in South America. Hello, buddy. How you doing? And Merry Christmas. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, good old Pogo. So go look up Pogo, read some of those comics, friends. You'll love them. He's good. Good stuff. Very good. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So
we don't have adventure strips anymore in the comics at all.
I think they might be replaying some of them. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but drawn very generically, like the way they were back in the 50s.
Well, there was something called Steve Canyon that was supposed to be an Air Force pilot, but when I was young, the character would rarely appear. It was the supporting characters that were usually the major figures. And Steve Canyon himself was rarely seen in the Steve Canyon strip.
Really?
As I recall. And there were earlier ones that were not carried in the newspapers here that I've read about since that time. The Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers and Tarzan was a comic strip. A lot of papers.
Oh yeah.
They were never never in the newspapers where I lived.
No. Well, I'm trying to find something here. I'll keep looking for it. What else is new in your world?
Oh, well, today was a rough day. I had to go. The cold was extreme, and I had to get to work and come home to a cold house. And part of a tree fell across my driveway. I had to be out.
Oh my!
After sundown, trying to trim it down so I could drive around it.
Oh my God! That
was.
Wow.
I needed mittens out there for that. I was, my fingers were, I was in pain by the time I got back inside. I didn't really get much of it done, just enough to get some of the things that, get my car in the driveway for a little further, closer to the house.
Here's a map of the cold coming down. Look at that.
Yeah.
You know what's weird is the picture before this big cold snap here was up here, and it was in the shape of California. I think it's the next one. Let me see. Yeah, look. See, it's the shape of California here. See? Here's California. Yeah. It's just above it, and then it comes down, blah, and it goes to Texas and to Florida.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with things enough to know if there are any paranormal explanations. I can imagine some conspiracy theorist out there somewhere is postulating something weird about it.
Well,
because it looks weird. Looks weird to me. It's outside.
It does look weird.
Any recent experiences? I remember we had one back in the 1980s where the temperature in Knoxville, Tennessee, got down lower than the temperature was in Alaska.
Wow.
It had to have been something similar to this.
Well, there are companies that operate and are very successful in controlling the weather. You want to control the weather, you hire these companies and they can do it. They've been doing it for years. Like in Russia, you can hire these companies in other countries too. In this country, it's still they're pretending it doesn't exist. But I remember one year, the mayor of Moscow decided, okay, this year we're not going to let it snow in Moscow. We're going to save $200,000 or rubles on plowing, and they did. They did it. They seeded the clouds before they came there, or whatever they did to control the weather, and it was successful. There wasn't any snowfall. They didn't have to plow, and they saved a lot of money, except all the outlying areas, the farms got just pounded and got flooded out. But they can do that. I mean, it's conceivable. I mean, you think about the deep state, they don't like Texas, they don't like Florida. I don't know. I think they could do it if they wanted to.
Yeah, that's the problem when you know there has been one conspiracy, you wonder what steps would they take to cover up
right
with additional conspiracies. That's it becomes a something that they default to.
Look at this.
Forms of sabotage, and you end up questioning whether anything is natural anymore.
Yeah, look how quickly these temperatures drop. 30-degree drop in 1 hour. 37 in 1 hour. 43 to 11 in 9 minutes. That's, I mean, this kind of cold snap could really hurt a lot of people if they, catch them off, picnicking and, oh my God, now we're frozen. Hello, Metaverse. Merry Christmas. Yeah. Wild stuff. Yeah, boy, it was awfully cold. Boy. And it's not letting up either. I feel sorry for Santa because he's going to have to. Of course, he's got good mittens. I know that he wears mittens. He's a smart guy. Can't cover that kind of ground in one night without being equipped right? Plus, he gets to eat cookies at every house. No wonder he can't lose weight, right? All right. So did you ever do anything to try to see Santa? Like, I hid under the couch. Did you ever try to do anything like that?
Oh, well, if we're thinking back on the days when I believed in Santa Claus, that would have been an extremely long time ago.
Wait a minute.
It would have been
Believed it? What are you talking about? What?
believing in Santa Claus and
What do
like
you
a
mean?
child.
Of course, he wears red. He lives in a like hole. I mean, come on now. He's got reindeer.
Yeah, that's another one of those
You ever
things.
heard that? Well,
I think
I'll
Kennedy
believe it.
was in the White House when I
I'll
still
believe
believed
for
in
you.
Santa Claus.
I'll believe for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's Santa Claus is the spirit of Christmas, so that's what it is.
My favorite Christmas gift though was something relevant to our topics somewhat.
Okay.
The time I got, do you remember Mark's play sets?
Yeah.
You know, they'd have this play set that was supposed to be a frontier fort with all the little toy cowboys and Indians, and a play set that was the Normandy beach landing with Germans and little green soldiers, and the various play sets they would offer. But they had a play set moon base.
Oh yeah.
And that one I loved. And this secret space program stuff, it's like the Mark's moon base play set brought to life. There seems to be some parallels. Which is a curious thing to me. The Mark's playset had little. I remember them vividly, and I don't have them anymore. Don't know what became of them, but part of the little figurines came with one. It was a paper bag that had little green men in it.
Cool.
Little green spacemen that were aliens and green colored, a kind of a iridescent green plastic made out of that.
Oh.
And that stayed in my mind quite vividly. Of course, you do have some green people in some of the some of the modern science fiction. The Star Trek had the sexy green dancing girls from the Orion, the Orion slave girls.
Yeah, and you got people with green hair and probably green skin at Walmart right now. Right?
Yeah, there's been a fad. I've seen teenage girls and some a little older with not their entire hair dyed green, but just like green streaks in their hair. Green.
There's the moon
base. Oh yeah, that was it. And that's the figure in the foreground on the front of the moon base set. A man wearing a rigid spacesuit.
Yeah.
They had like a little plastic figure, and then the spacesuit halves would go around,
click around
the figure to make a spacesuit for the little
nice.
Plastic guy.
Nice.
So kind of a silvery colored plastic. The human figures, the Earth people, were silvery colored plastic, and then they had some little green men.
Cool.
But that one was based on a real spacesuit design. NASA, it must have been a NASA contract or something for rigid suits, even though they didn't have vehicles that could transport them anywhere at that time.
Right.
It wasn't directly relevant to Project Mercury or Project Gemini, but for lunar exploration, the idea was a rigid spacesuit that would be like a spaceship cabin, only it's got legs.
Right. Well, kind of like the early diving suits were rigid, weren't they?
Yeah, the same concept really as a diving suit. And they built some prototypes to test. The one that you're seeing on the moon base set on the foreground, I think it was Republic Aviation had a prototype built that they were testing. And then there was one other that was kind of really barrel shaped, like a barrel with a dome on top that you'd wear over your body, and your legs and arms would be sticking out of it.
Mhm.
That was a rigid design. There were two of those in the moon base set, and it had the little plastic the rover vehicles that were like these things. That's still a thing, a real thing. That's building roving vehicles that would have a pressurized cabin for a human crew that could explore the lunar surface.
Of course.
And that this thing had some simulations of that, some of those patterns.
Oh, there's a kid who got. Oh, look, he got a sled and a moon base. Look how big that moon base was. That must have been a back.
It had a lot of stuff in it, and it was no explanatory text as to what it was you were seeing. But it was seemed to be based on some of the theoretical design studies that went into an actual Air Force plan for a moon base that got publicized.
Right.
And what was interesting to me was that I found out, now that not at the time, I didn't know any of this at the time, but years later, they declassified the Army study called Project Horizon, which was a moon base that the Army was wanting to build, which Colonel Corso talks about in his book.
That's how it became public. He declassified it.
Yeah, that was Project Horizon.
Yeah.
And then the Air Force plan, and this moon base toy set resembles the Air Force plan for a moon base in many ways, parallels it.
Yeah.
So that must have got a lot of publicity, but Project Horizon didn't.
Right.
Project Horizon stayed classified a lot longer.
Till 1997 when
Project Horizon, the Army actually built a prototype moon base, but they didn't call it that and didn't tell anybody that. But they had what was called Camp Century, which was located on the Greenland ice cap.
Yep, and you're gonna watch them build it. They have
there were.
Here's
the moon base would have been based on the architecture of Camp Century, where you would dig these deep ditches and then drop prefab cylindrical modules down in the ditches and cover them over.
Yeah.
And the prefab things were just on the moon. They would be like a big Coca-Cola can on its side, 10 feet wide and 20 feet long, and they would be linked together at the ends with pressure bulkheads, and with being inside, it would be like being inside a submarine, really. But it wouldn't be. I don't know if it would be like a submarine or like a pressurized Quonset hut, sort of like a cross between the two. And they were quite serious, and the studies for Project Horizon were centered in the Huntsville, Alabama center, the Army's Redstone Arsenal. Scientists there, who included quite a contingent of these Germans who came over with Werner von Braun.
This shows. Excuse me for a second. I'm just holding it up here. If anyone ever says, "Oh, we couldn't have went to the moon," how could they communicate? This is how they did it. They had satellites at different points that relayed all of the messages, and so they could communicate. They had it all figured it out, and this was way before the moon.
Well, the secret space program mythos, if that's what you should call it, I don't know, but maintains that Project Horizon is essentially something that they really did build.
Yeah.
They didn't use rocket vehicles.
Well, I think they've used them at first.
Some kind of saucer technology or some such. And there were some curious. You could see similarities to NASA's Project Apollo ideas, but the differences, underscoring the differences between this thinking and Project Apollo, because the Project Apollo history, there's no. Many of the same personalities who are part of Project Horizon must have gone on to work on Apollo.
Of course. Well,
without telling anybody about Project Horizon.
Well, William Tompkins talks about that because he was one of the people. he was one of the principal designers of all the stuff to get us to the moon, starting in there from the early 60s. And so it's pretty, I mean, they got the gravity assist and everything, you know, they got it all mathematically figured out. I mean, without computers, they did this. Of course, William Tompkins did create a computer checkout system from studying alien artifacts. He built a computer checkout system so that all 30,000 of the contractors' parts would work together and get us to the moon. Look at those kind of like raised bottom shoes for if there's too much dust, because they thought there might be fine dust on the moon.
Yeah, that dust business was another odd thing. There was speculation. And a professional astronomer named Thomas Gold published a paper where he claimed the moon had this deep layer of dust that could endanger astronauts.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to take that seriously for a while because an astronomer with a PhD said it.
Right. Exactly.
So there were speculations about how to get around on the moon dust and so forth. And Arthur C. Clarke wrote a science fiction story called A Fall of Moon Dust, which took this idea very seriously in the context of a fiction story where a vehicle gets bogged down in the dust and they have to do this moon rescue of the people trapped inside.
There's that moon base where the sections are lowered down in the ditch there.
Yeah, the modular sections, and of course you have to have the power machinery that will work under lunar conditions to do the excavation and the assembly.
Right.
And that's the part of that doesn't get put into drawings much, because that's not something you can buy off the shelf.
Right.
It's built especially for such a job.
So here's
the whole dust business. Afterwards, somebody pointed out that in 1947, same year as Roswell, the Army did an experiment with their experimental radars where they would bounce radar signals off of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And the signal response was different from what the signal response would have been had the moon been covered with a deep layer of dust.
Okay.
The signal they got back was strong enough to indicate that the surface of the moon couldn't have a thick layer of dust.
Right.
It would just basically be consistent with radar reflection back from a rock face. So there wasn't Thomas Gold's idea never really had much merit. And of course, in the 60s, circa I can't remember if it was 65 or 66, but unmanned vehicles were soft landed on the moon. And they didn't sink out of sight in dust. And the Soviets did that even. Soviets had a lot of interesting unmanned devices that they tested out in those years.
Wow.
And their forms of secrecy was interesting because they would keep their rocket technology very secret. So anything you'd read about the Soviets would be speculation when it came to the rocket. But when it came to scientific probe devices, they wanted to have credibility for the work they were doing. So they were quite open in publishing the results and the experimental data of what they got back from the things they did. And the stuff they did was innovative and daring, quite daring. Their early Venus probe, earliest probe vehicle that they sent to Venus.
Oh, yeah.
The interplanetary probe with early 60s. Very first thing they sent to Venus, they had it built so it would float because they thought at the time that maybe Venus had big oceans.
Right, because it was cloud covered. They couldn't see.
It was cloud cover. They couldn't see what they were doing, and the vehicle was not really designed for what NASA today says are conditions on Venus that would destroy. The probe would have been destroyed had it successfully gotten there by the conditions. At least according to what the textbooks say now about Venus.
Yeah.
So
Boy,
But
okay, go ahead.
scientists were quite serious in the days when it was covered with clouds and nobody knew. Quite serious, thinking that the surface conditions were Earth-like. That it was in Robert Heinlein's fiction stories, and he published more than one story set on Venus. It was always something like Louisiana Bayou. It was very, very different from what you would read in any astronomy textbook today. Astronomy textbooks today say that Venus basically is a hell world. It's like 800-degree temperature on the ground.
Yeah, but you know what they called it when we were kids? They called it Earth's twin.
Earth's twin, but that's based on size and mass.
Yeah.
Physical size is about the same as the physical size of Earth, and the mass is comparable. It's there's slight differences, but not enough to be of interest. So it made perfect. It seemed perfectly plausible that you'd get there, get below the clouds, and there'd be like the Garden of Eden or something. And C.S. Lewis, the famous author, British author, wrote a book called Paralandra. That most of the story is set on Venus. But then that's the Earth character goes to Venus, where another the Earth bad guy is there to be the serpent in the Garden of Eden, because the Venerians have just two people, a man and a woman, who are real tall and real green, green colored. It's green people again. In C.S. Lewis's novel Paralandra.
Here's some surface pictures of Venus. This is from the Soviet lander. Of course, they only lasted a couple hours and they were crushed by the atmospheric pressure. So it's like landing under the ocean, all that pressure.
Pressure and high temperature both, and a corrosive, toxic atmosphere.
Yeah.
So,
or they're just saying that to keep us out. That's probably.
Yeah, that's some people advocating the secret space program idea say that that's what you're seeing there is all simulation, and the real Venus is really Earth-like. There are people still saying that. I'd like to know what their reasoning is and what facts they have.
Now, this image here was made because we've sent satellites there and mapped the surface, and they got this. But that's not all they got. They got some very interesting things. I'm not finding any of them here. Here's another picture from.
Was it pyramids again?
No.
That would not surprise me.
No, really, really cool looking structures, unlike anything I've ever seen, but very, very man-made looking, not natural. So of course, they're not going to have those readily available, are they?
There was a recent, when I say recent, I mean within the past 20 years, recent science fiction novel by an Irish author whose last name was Hogan, who had a story where Venus had once been very Earth-like.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have all this volcanism going on that just basically turns the planet into a big furnace. And the people living on Venus immigrate to Earth.
Right.
And if you want to know what they look like, just look in the mirror, because they were our ancestors.
Right.
The original space travelers.
Men came from Mars, women came from Venus, or is it the other way around?
Oh yeah, that was a book. I forgot the author's name. Not too many years ago, but men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and really that was about psychology.
Right. But maybe who knows? Maybe they did from another place. Boy, maybe I need to add another word to this search. Structures. But then you never know, the stuff you see on the internet, is it real or is it Memorex? We don't know, right?
Well, of course, let's see. Hoagland, Richard C. Hoagland, kind of makes a cottage industry out of looking at images and seeing what he says are structures built by intelligent beings on the moon, Mars. Probably it wouldn't surprise me to learn that he's seen things on the Venus images as well. But everything he points out, with the exception of the face on Mars and a few other really blatant examples, they're just right at the limits of your resolving power. So your imagination can see these as structures built by intelligent beings, but there's too, the process of reasoning there is just too subjective for my taste. Of course, his co-author is Mike Barrows. Got quite a little presentation thing that he does on the internet.
Oh, here it is.
Ranting and raving on political subjects.
This is the image I was looking for. This one right here. This is supposedly from the surface of Venus when they mapped it. Look at these things. Looks like a giant Lego set or something. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, nothing out there ever. Nothing out there should surprise me.
Look at that.
Every weird possibility has an expression somewhere. But if it's an infinite cosmos, then anything you can imagine will be real somewhere, good and bad.
Yeah.
In an infinite cosmos.
And it is infinite. Here's the universe right here, the known universe. But what's beyond that? Other bubbles? Could be.
Yeah, cosmology is a field of scientific endeavor that's always seems to be a disappointment to me.
Yeah.
The cosmologist is someone who's trying to make the universe small enough so it can fit inside your head.
Mm-hmm.
That is, supposedly you could take Einstein's relativity equations and apply them to cosmology and come up with equations that would fit on a single sheet of paper that would explain everything.
Wow.
But of course, nobody's ever actually done that, and I suspect it's because you can't.
Could be. Here's some more Venus structures.
It's not built like that.
Here's some more Venus structures. Look at these ones, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tall. And the thing about the surface of Venus is they were predicting there would be no mountains because the atmospheric pressure is so intense that it would flatten everything out. But look at these things. These somehow are.
Well, now some of those are artifacts of the computer processing of the image, because they will exaggerate relief to look for relief. So a mountain would be taller and thinner than the real mountain would look. But there's something there in the lower right that just looks like, nature does not give you right angles or wall-like structures. That's just not.
I'm most impressed with this, and this is what I'm most impressed with.
Yeah, some of those, what I was saying, finding pyramids there, because my suspicion is that you've got pyramids everywhere.
Of course.
That there's a school of thought that says they serve a purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of energy nodes or directed energy devices that a school of thought says would have been built on Earth to stabilize the Earth.
It could be, but the in the book the what is it? The Alien Interview by Lawrence Spencer, just passed away. I interviewed him years ago, but he makes some very interesting claims in his book about that kind of stuff. But I got to get that interview out of Blog Talk Radio. It's behind a paywall, so all I have to do is pay my monthly and I can get at it. Maybe it'll happen one of these days. Yeah, some of these images are just incredible. Now the face on Mars, NASA famously, we took a new picture of it and now it looks like nothing, right? Of course they're going to do that.
Yeah, Richard Hoagland and Mike Barra working together did quite a lot on that subject. And they were not the only. Let's see, the other names I'm remembering. There was someone named Mark Carlotto and a few others who analyzed those images and did a lot of work. And there was the later image of the face on Mars was they called the cat box or the sandbox image, and they maintain that the NASA image processing was deliberately rigged to make the face go away, to make it less face-like, just to try to cover up the whole deal, which is, when you think about that type of cover-up, on the one hand, NASA wants to be funded in the billions of dollars, and then on the other hand, they pull shenanigans like that, which have the net effect of making everything out there much less interesting.
Exactly.
Less incentive to spend $1 billion, which always struck me as being both annoying and crazy, schizophrenic. I mean, we have to rely on NASA to give us these images, and then they debunk them and say they're not really what they look like. That's to me, that's contradictory to me.
Yeah, it's not right. I'm trying to find something here. Now, my other computer, the one that broke, had all these images that I could just dial up right away.
Richard C. Hoagland's contention about the face was that if you look at its context, you can find it with other structures, and they are astronomically oriented exactly the way that man-made structures would be built by the ancients who want things to be oriented so that, for example, I think it was at the summer solstice, the sun would be rising right over the face. And that's a obvious sign of artifice, not accident. That was Richard C. Hoagland's basic contention with his co-author Mike Barra. And this curious thing, that book by Duncan Lunan on the Green Children, the chapter I didn't understand well because it was based on astronomy, and I don't know a lot about the subject, but the oriented structures that according to Duncan Lunan, and I would be interested in finding out if Richard Hoagland has commented on this same subject, but Duncan Lunan was saying that one of the sight lines identified at Stonehenge was a sight line that orients it with the galactic center.
Oh, wow.
And what's exceedingly weird about that is that the galactic center was unknown to science until the invention of radio astronomy circa late 1940s. They didn't know where the center of the galaxy was until radio astronomy revealed it, and that radio astronomy requires radio telescopes. The people who built Stonehenge were Stone Age people who couldn't have known that the galaxy has a center. But yet there's the orientation. And Duncan Lunan was calling that the smoking gun for the whole subject of ancient aliens or ancient astronauts, ancient paleo contacts, space travelers, orientations with the galactic center, which he claimed he could identify at other places besides Stonehenge.
Wow.
This orientation was at Stonehenge at the time it was built, the window of time where archaeologists estimate the structure was constructed, which was something like 2800 BC, thereabouts. You would have this orientation with one of the principal sight lines with the galactic center. And Duncan Lunan was maintaining that you could see the same orientation with, I think it was those air shafts in the Great Pyramid during the window of time that the pyramid was built, the Great Pyramid was built. And at the time of the Green Children incident in 12th century AD, he was saying the latitude where you could get that orientation would be right with Jerusalem. Of course, that was during the Crusades, so he was inferring a connection between all of these events.
Wow.
It's one of his chapters that I had difficulty understanding.
Sounds like an interesting book.
It was an extremely strange book that was intricate and dense.
Sounds like it, yeah.
When I finished it, I realized I was going to have to read it again because I was not understanding everything I was reading, not really taking it all in. It was very, very, very much bibliography and footnotes over this one curious incident that was chronicled by two different chroniclers. And the old monasteries, of course, they would have some of the scribes would be tasked with chronicling current events, like keeping a log or a journal. And you have those are very important in trying to reconstruct ancient history. The Irish chroniclers actually recorded astronomical events like eclipses, which allow you to create a timeline of dates for events.
Yeah. And you can make a sundial too, just really easily. Sundials are kind of cool.
Well, it's necessary if you're going to have any kind of timekeeping, because the watches and clocks are relatively recent technologies.
Oh yeah.
And that was it was the monks in the monasteries that built the first clocks.
Really?
They needed timing because they have requirements for such and such prayers or such and such songs at specific times of the day.
Oh yeah.
And it allows them to, and sounding of bells at specific times of the day or specific events. They wanted more precision, which earlier monks hundreds of years earlier didn't see a need for such, but they may have had sundials. That particular art might have.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if they reset themselves for daylight savings time.
Yeah, that's they never seem to have much need for that. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's weird to me is some people still doubt that we made it to the moon, but you can actually see our landers on the moon with a telescope. So, I mean, it's right there, dude.
Well, it's yeah, that's another point of contention, another annoyance about NASA, because they could have anticipated that such a problem would exist and they could have done something about it. Robert Heinlein's novel, The Man Who Sold the Moon, I think it was in that novel. It was science fiction written late 40s, early 50s time window, before the United States actually had a space program. This novel was written about this eccentric millionaire who's kind of an Elon Musk type, who starts his own space program, and
wow.
Since he anticipates people will doubt that he's telling the truth about a man going to the moon, the guy up there carries a bag, I think it's powdered aluminum dust that he spreads out over the lunar surface, and it's reflective enough that you could see it with a telescope on Earth.
Oh, wow.
So he just makes a mark up there to show he's there.
Well, that's
Gilroy was here.
That's interesting. Now, I do know that the first landings, they did put transponders on the moon, and you can still send a signal and get it back if you point it at the right.
Well, I think the only thing they have up there that's still usable, it's a laser range finding device, and it's an interesting optical device. It's optical prisms, an array of optical prisms and a laser beam coming from Earth will reach that array, and the prisms ensure that a good part of that energy gets reflected back to the sender.
Right.
So it's laser ranging, and there are kind of hobbyists who do that sort of thing. And there was a Big Bang Theory episode where the guys were up on the roof with a laser to shoot the moon, to do laser range finding.
Yeah.
And Penny's boyfriend Zach is afraid they're going to shoot the moon down. And that was in the storyline to underscore how dumb Zach was.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the actor portraying Zach was very tall and handsome, and in a later episode, they're doing a costume party, and he dresses as Superman and looks the part.
Oh wow!
I mean, he's a terrifically good-looking guy who just in the Superman costume, he looked like he belonged in it.
That's cool.
But he was portraying this incredibly dumb guy who's Penny's boyfriend. And he thinks the guys are going to shoot the moon down with their laser beam. Like the moon would pop like a balloon or something.
You never know, right?
Yeah, well, today's education system, things like that would seem plausible, I guess, to some people.
Yeah.
But that was the laser range finding they did. They tell Zach that it proves that that a species 66 years after the Wright brothers could go to the moon. And Zach looks dumbfounded and says, "Really? What species was that?"
Right. Exactly.
So the people who deny we went there have quite a bit in common with Zach, evidently.
Well, but you know what? With the way that we're finding out that the whole world is not exactly how we thought it was, it's easy for people to think that everything is not real, you know?
Well, that's the whole problem with conspiracy theory, that you've got to reestablish what's real. When you know you've been lied to about some things, it throws lots of other things into doubt, and you have to be able to discern.
Oh yeah, discernment is the key
of all of these stories.
And you know,
it helps to be able to gather facts yourself that you're sure about yourself. I mean, I wouldn't take UFOs very seriously, but for the fact that on 2 occasions I've seen them.
Right. That's
to me, that validates it.
Yep, me too. It's needed for something like that that's doubted so much publicly.
Yeah, but the other side of the coin, then, what am I to make of the people who just utterly deny that?
Well, I saw something, some famous psychologist wrote that, or he studied this and found out that 80% of the population will obey orders even if they're illogical, or they don't make any sense, or they're not, or go against their best wishes. So that means only 20% of people have the ability to think independently and figure this kind of stuff out. So that explains a lot why we can see things and most other people just keep wearing the mask.
Yeah, there's an in-between category there too.
Yeah.
I mean, I figure out the conspiracy only after the fact. I don't see it coming.
Yeah.
So I could walk off the edge of the cliff, and as I'm falling, I'm saying, well, that was a mistake.
Yeah, I guess gravity does work here. Oh. Oops.
Yeah, so that's my situation. I can catch on to the conspiracies, but only after a bit of effort.
Right.
Only after the fact. They've gotten away with it by the time I catch on.
And, you know, that was one of the key aspects of the whole 17 movement. The 17th letter of the alphabet is 17 would ask questions about certain subjects and certain people, and then you'd go and look it up using open source internet and you find the truth. And like you said, discovering it yourself is so much different than someone just telling you. Someone tells you something, you're not going to believe it. If you looked it up yourself, of course, then you got watch out for Snopes. Friends don't let friends use Snopes. I mean, I even made a meme about that. Speaking of memes, here's one. You know, I like to be inclusive, right? Inclusive. Give everyone a shot, right? So here we go. No one could ever say that I wasn't giving everyone a shot. So here is a cross-dresser. See, it has crosses on it.
Okay.
It's a dresser. That's the only kind of cross-dresser there should be, if you ask me. So if they want to do that, they can do it in their own closet, right? So that's what I say about that.
Yeah, the Star Trek Next Generation, they had maybe 2 episodes where the characters were in what were said to be Starfleet dress uniforms. Picard and Riker and some others, and they looked like women's dresses almost. They were totally ridiculous costumes, and I wondered if that was something subtle.
Oh,
advocating cross-dressing or some such, but the unisex idea taken to an illogical extreme. It didn't go over well with me. I didn't enjoy that at all. I thought they looked ridiculous.
Yeah, they all look like Klinger to me. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy what people are convinced to do. They're so easily swayed, you know. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember Wacky Packages.
Not at all. That doesn't ring a bell at all.
Okay. Well, maybe, yeah, well, so I can't remember when this was, but you know, you get stickers and collectible cards and bubble gum in these little packets. And sometimes it's baseball, sometimes it's football, but this was called Wacky Packages, and they became a big hit. And I can't remember, back in the 70s, I suppose it would be. Oops.
I just remember there were baseball cards that I don't know if that's still a thing or not.
I think there are.
Collect them.
I think there are, but these things were kind of parodies of real products. Like,
Well, that looks like something Andy Warhol would have done.
A-Jerks, you know.
Okay.
Ultra Blight.
Oh, they're like parodies, like Mad
Minute
Max
Mud,
stuff.
Plastered.
Okay, Wacky Packages. Well,
yeah.
That's
These were
sort of like something Mad Magazine would have done.
It is, but it was a huge hit for a couple of years. It was
one of those fads that missed me completely.
Yeah, Wacky Packages. Second series, third series were probably the best. There was one, you know, Pepsi, but theirs was Poopsie, and it had like a nipple on the top, like a baby bottle. Poopsie for babies. Yeah, that's kind of fun stuff.
Well, of course, the marketing people and the big corporations, they push their products so hard that they're just asking for a parody setup, satire kind of thing to hit them like that.
Yeah.
They're begging for it.
And we were lucky to have Mad Magazine and Cracked. I was a big Cracked magazine fan myself.
I had a collection of Mad magazines, and I got rid of it, and I really could kick myself for doing that, because they were classics from the '60s period when the the artists were at their prime.
Oh yeah,
Mort Drucker was terrific.
Mort Drucker rocked. Yes.
Yeah, and I got rid of them, and I feel bad about that. Got rid of so many things that were worth keeping, and kept so many things that belong in the trash.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what I was thinking back then. Youth is wasted on the young.
Well, we all get our chance, and we all did what we did, and we survived. That's good. Some of us didn't, but some of us did. So
they had Spy versus Spy. There was, and Don Martin, who was
Don Martin rocked.
Yeah, he was hilarious. His rather distorted view of the human anatomy was
very funny. The way
very funny.
He bent over when he was there walking. The front of the foot would bend over.
Yeah, but he to convey the motion, and I mean, he nobody else was like that. Nobody did anything quite like that. And
he was great.
Quite a treasure.
I really.
All those guys were.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I liked John Severin. He was, or Severin. I don't know how you pronounce it. He was the lead guy over at Cracked.
Oh, okay. Now, Cracked was one that I never paid attention to. I had the impression, I was probably mistaken, but an impression that it was just basically a knockoff of Mad.
It was. Of course it was. And there was another magazine called Sick that was another knockoff and another notch below. But it was kind of fun too. They had some good stuff in those. That was the golden age for artists, for cartoon comic artists like that, because wow, they really had it going on there.
Yeah, I got so many lectures on how awful comic books are that
really
it affected my. I didn't collect a lot of things that I should have been collecting. I mean, one of the greatest comic book artists ever was Steve Ditko. He was the creator of Doctor Strange and Spider-Man with Stan Lee. Some input from Stan Lee, but Steve Ditko was terrific. But I in the day, I would covertly borrow the comic book from the rack, read it quickly, and put it back where I found it. But I mean, issue number 1, Spider-Man, I could have bought for like 15 cents. I had it in my hands.
Yeah.
The Origin of Doctor Strange. All these things would be worth a fortune now. And
of course.
I held them in my hands and read them and then put them back where I found them.
Wow. Hey, Operation Shutdown's in the house. He says, I was a fan of John Severin at Crack too. Awesome. Yeah, he was really good. Here's a meme I made for one of my early episodes. In just 66 years, we went from Kitty Hawk to the moon. I mean, that's really incredible. In one lifetime, we made it to the freaking moon. I mean, that's from the very first flight. I mean, that's really incredible. It's remarkable.
Yeah, I can't stand to hear it, but it's plausible. But a pessimist could look at that and say, well, 69, that was like the high watermark of American civilization, and it's been receding since that time.
I'll agree with
We've been going downhill.
Ever since they shot Kennedy, the CIA.
I don't like to hear that. I don't want to believe that.
No, it's true.
I would like to be able to believe otherwise. I would certainly be open to hearing words of encouragement that that's not true. We'll go on. That 1969, that period was the high water mark of the USA.
Well, I think
we're in decline.
Well, it's only
that's a pessimist viewpoint, and I don't want to hear it, and I don't want to believe it. But
it's only in decline.
I can't escape it.
It's only in decline because the same people and organizations that killed Kennedy are running the show still today. But people are finally waking up as soon as it gets cleaned up. we're back going to Mars, the moon, and all the places we need to go. And
That's certainly what I want to believe.
Yeah. And Hot Wheels. Yeah, here's my Batmobile Hot Wheels. This is a good one. They have a number of them with different deco on them now they're selling. I like the original black.
Yeah, last time I was just browsing on YouTube, there was some new YouTube video of somebody with a Batmobile replica out on the highway, hot rodding it, trying to see how fast he could drive it. And it was recent.
There's built hundreds of them now. They built hundreds of them.
Yeah, this was recent, and this was not from the original TV series. This was a replica someone had constructed, and
right.
They built it. They built it well enough to drive it fast. I don't know how fast. I didn't view the YouTube video, but it was there, and it was recent. Recent. So the Batmobile and Batman is still a thing. It's still still has quite a following.
Yeah.
In spite of all
Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg, Batmobile lost his wheel, and the Joker got away. Hey!
Yeah, there was a Simpsons episode where the Bart Simpson was in the church choir. They were doing Christmas songs. And they got to Jingle Bells. He starts to sing that one. And the guy in charge of the choir, just as you get to the end of it, where the Batmobile broke its wheel, Joker got away, and that's when the guy grabs him and yanks him out of there. Joker got away.
I think I did see that. That was many years ago.
A long time ago. They did some classic, wonderful things in the earlier ones. I haven't really watched it much in recent times. Don't have time.
Yeah. Well, here's a blast from the past. The driver of the Batmobile himself, Adam West, Batman, otherwise known as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he did a guest appearance on The Big Bang Theory one time where he was disparaging of the later Batman because, of course, if you look at any of the recent iterations of Batman wears a costume that's sort of like a suit of armor. Batman is kind of morphed into Iron Man in recent times.
I know.
And of course, Adam West was remarking that he's in a tight-fitting costume, and what you see there, that's not sculpted plastic. That's
muscle. Yeah.
That's Adam West.
Exactly.
And so he's worked out enough to look the part.
Did you know that his last name really is not West? His real last name?
I don't know what his real last name is. It doesn't surprise me that it's a.
And the reason that he named himself West was because he was a radio announcer, but then he got some TV gigs, and all of a sudden he was in a lot of Westerns. So you can see Westerns. You'll see Adam West occasionally in these old Westerns. And so he named himself Adam West so he could get in more Westerns.
Ah, interesting. He's had a distinctive voice. You could tell he'd been in radio, really.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that until you said it, but it doesn't come as a bit of a surprise to me.
The golden voice, they called it. He has the golden voice. Yeah, he really did have a great voice. And if you've ever seen the screen test for Batman and Robin, they had Adam West and Burt Ward, and then two other good actors. A really well-known actor playing Batman. I can't remember his name, and he's got a really cool voice too. But Adam West has that I don't know, that urgency to the Batmobile, Robin. The way he said it, I mean, it's, I don't know, kind of like magic, I'd say.
It's quite a contrast to the movie Batman of recent times, where the guy's got to be gruff and gravelly, and you could barely understand what he's saying.
I know.
Sounds like a growling dog most of the time. It's not very. I mean, it's plausible because the character is trying to hide his identity, but it's not. not understandable or,
The other
or
thing,
very pleasant.
you know what really bothers me about the new Batmans and all these new heroes is they wear makeup over they put dark around their eyes. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go fight some crime. I better put my eye makeup on first. It's ridiculous. That's stupid, really. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put stuff around my eyes so in case it goes in my eye, then I won't be able to see.
Yeah,
Adam,
if I'm remembering correctly, the comic book character back when I was covertly reading comics, the comic book character itself, the costume, the eyes had like white lenses over the eyes, so you couldn't really see Batman's eye color.
Right.
And that was part of the fact that it was a disguise, because the millionaire Bruce Wayne would be instantly recognizable if he didn't have the cape and cowl on.
Yeah.
And of course, that was much more plausible than than Superman, because I mean he puts on a pair of fake eyeglasses and he's Clark Kent.
Right.
And that's his disguise.
Yeah. You know what? I was at a costume party once. I think it was for Halloween. And we had this friend that we were all anxiously waiting till he came because he actually worked for a lookalikes company, and he did a Worf. He had the plastic forehead and everything, the rubber forehead, and the whole costume. He looked just like Worf. He was a black dude, and he looked just like Worf when he had the voice. He was really good, really good. We were all looking, where is he? Where is he? We're asking everybody, have you seen him? Have you seen him? No, I haven't seen him. And there's this guy in a Batman outfit. It turns out it was him. He had white makeup on his face.
That's incredible. That would have really been quite a interesting costume.
It was, nobody knew. And the best thing about it was he could hear everyone talking about him.
Yeah, these conventions like Comic-Con, there are people who do that, who do an outstanding job of it, but I don't really follow it. I don't have time to commit myself into that. But I remember seeing one documentary that was I don't know if it was Comic-Con or which one it was, but a guy was in their costume contest who had a Batman outfit on, and he got the prize, and it looked exactly like the movie Batman. It looked like came right out of the prop department of the motion picture studio or something.
Wow.
And that's the only drawback I see to that, because when they're too good, you have to wonder if it's really amateur costuming. You have to wonder about whether it's fixed somehow or somebody's got connections with the studio or something like that. You do have to wonder about it.
This is my outfit.
Well, is that supposed to be? Oh, you did have that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you had your own story.
Oh yeah.
Going with.
It was a dream I had one night, and it's an incredible dream. And actually, it was almost made into a movie by Ridley Scott, the guy that did Alien. That would have been cool, but it didn't happen. But I still own it. So
yeah, they look for things. I think one of the reasons why so many comic books have been turned into movies, part of movie making, was the storyboarding, where you try to plan out the movie with artist renditions of scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And since that's so similar to a comic book, if a comic book's been done already and was successful, it kind of lends itself naturally to switch over to another medium.
I found the meme I was looking for that I made, and it has to do with what we were talking about earlier, and that is that newer picture of the face on Mars that they made. They obfuscated it. They made it look like it was
the cat box picture.
Right. But I was looking at it, I'm like, wait, something familiar about this. There's something familiar here. And eventually, like, yeah, that's it. And I found this picture. And what do you think? Check this out.
Okay.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It looks just like Dr. Zaius.
Dr. Zaius, Planet of the Apes. Of course, in the Planet of the Apes movies, they had the apes would have a statue of their lawgiver guy who was an orangutan, an ancient orangutan who gave them their law books, their orangutan Moses. So that implies something about Mars, maybe.
Isn't that funny? So when NASA thought, oh, we'll mess this up, well, maybe they just gave us a hint as to who the real Mars inhabitants were.
Yeah, but also the Richard Hoagland and the Mike Barra book. One thing they did was turn the image upside down of that face, and you get an outline that looks like a lion's face.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You can with the it has to be processed just a little bit. It'll give you an image of what looks like a lion's face, and of course that brings to mind Aslan from Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis's Narnia stories.
Okay.
Aslan was sort of his on Narnia. Aslan is almost the same thing as Jesus.
Wow.
The magic talking lion.
Magic talking lion. Here's where me and the author of the Papa books met, Jeff Foxworthy. And this was a couple months before he sent us the quote to endorse the books. Nice, super nice guy, man. Nicest guy you ever want to meet.
Yeah, the you might be a redneck jokes.
Yeah, right.
I did all of that. I have not seen him on television in an age of ages.
He's on the internet.
Yeah, it's not since 2016 or thereabouts.
Okay.
I'm thinking there could be political reasons for that.
Could be.
Maybe he's a friend of Trump or something.
You know what I really like about him is he doesn't swear. Rarely will you ever hear him swear, and he's actually the most successful comedian of all time. He sold more DVDs or records or whatever. He's top guy ever in comedy. If your working television sits on top of your old non-working television, you might be a redneck. Yeah, he's a hilarious guy, and he lent his good name to our project there, and I just in debt to him. He's such a nice guy.
Yeah, I was wondering if he's the one who talked about the let's see, the credo of NASCAR. You have to remember, you got to keep turning left.
Yeah. Oops. You don't want to turn right. Now, isn't it? I heard something that UPS drivers only take left turns, or is it only right turns? One or the other, because they did a survey and they found out that most accidents are on either a right turn or left. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah.
Well, I wonder if that truck design has some kind of really bad blind spot.
Could be. They had to build those themselves because they wanted an aluminum, non-rusting truck with a low maintenance engine, and no car manufacturer would make it for them. So they made their own, I think.
Well, that's fascinating. I didn't know that.
The top is clear or semi-clear, so the light comes in, so they don't need to have so many lights inside. So they have a kind of a semi-clear top on the back, so you can see the packages back there. during the daytime. Yeah, my little brother works for UPS. He also works at a dealership. So what, you got that moon base for Christmas one year?
A long time ago. It was the Mark's moon base set.
That's cool.
With the little toy astronauts and the little green men and little plastic spaceships, and the moon base itself was like a hollowed out mountain which had ballistic missiles inside launching. So the moon base would have been a covert nuclear weapons base if you take it seriously enough. And that is pretty much what Project Horizon was ultimately intended to be. And the Air Force counterpart, I forgot what the Air Force project was called, but the idea was to have a military base on the moon. And of course, the main reason why that was never done was that John F. Kennedy basically rejected it up front in favor of a purely civilian program, which was what NASA's Project Apollo was supposed to be.
Right.
And then Kennedy extended that. He was going to propose a serious partnership with the Russians for joint exploration of the moon.
Yeah.
And Richard Hoagland and Mike Barrow were maintaining in their book that that's why Kennedy was assassinated, the real reason.
I think there were several reasons.
Yeah, there were multiple reasons. Various factions were pissed off at him for various reasons, and that was Richard Hoagland and Mike Barrow were maintaining that was one of them.
And I think one of the reasons also was because he was a populist president. He was a popular president. And that's always a danger to the evil people in charge whenever you have a populist movement. So they'll demonize that. The very fact that people loved him would be the reason they would target him. Isn't that sick? We shouldn't have organizations that do things like this. Well, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark. Can you believe it? Oh, and that moon base, I made a moon base for extra credit, I think in 6th or 7th grade in Miss Chinberg's class. And it was on a piece of wood, and I made like cray paper, like craters, and I had clear domes and tubes going from the domes, like for growing food and stuff. It was really kind of cool.
Yeah, that sounds like exactly what I would have wanted to have done if I'd had the means and time to do so. Something like that, something along those lines. That was a frequent fantasy of my youth.
Oh, yeah.
And there was an author, Neil Ruzick, wrote a book called Where the Winds Sleep, which was all about colonizing the moon, and it had beautiful pen and ink drawings of lunar structures.
Interesting.
He had kind of there'd be like a cutaway view. There'd be the moon base was underground, but it wasn't like the Project Horizon. It wasn't tin cans. These were underground rooms that are rectangular, hollowed out in the rock, moon rock. Then a big long elevator connecting it with the surface, and on the surface were domes. The domes don't have adequate radiation protection, but that wouldn't matter because under the domes they'd have atmosphere and the plant life. That would be where the moon farms would be located.
Right.
In these domes.
That's what I was projecting too. And it looks like Mad Poke said more crashes on left turns, and these UPS trucks have old school mechanically injected diesel engines like my old Ford. Super simple and bulletproof. Oh.
I enjoyed hearing that. I've got to where I like a lot of old technology.
Yeah, old technology is the best. Did you see the bird calling machine from earlier in the show?
I missed that.
Oh, you know what? Maybe we'll end the show with that. Let's see if I can get it again. Oh yeah, let me find it. Well, it's from 120 years ago. Here it is. I can't believe it. I found it right away. Okay, back to here. over to here.
That would have been just before the Wright brothers.
Check this out. This is incredible. To wind up.
Ah, neat.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we achieved so much so long ago. It's incredible what we've done as a people. So there it is, folks. That's our Christmas special. I hope that you all have a great Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Austin. Thank you for calling in. You really made the show fun. So thank you so much for calling.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Oh, we better, oh, good. It did it all by itself. Well, fantastic. We did it again, folks. Episode 284. We'll see you again on Monday after Christmas. Until then, peace in.